LinkedIn. Good night, folks. We are live. Another night. Sales is a profession. Myself and my colleague Lyndon Braffett. And if you're wondering about this background, this is just my new office. I don't have it fully set up yet, but like just to give everybody a little half a
Yeah,
tour.
give us a little peek
It's a
now. Give us
full. It's a
a
full
look
hall.
now.
My daughter is here.
Nice.
I just packing away some of the stuff there. I'll get some shelving for that later. But you'll
Right.
see me doing all my content from this. Oh, let me show everybody on LinkedIn as well quickly. So hold on. You have that office, ring light, space, two yellow walls, not one. I couldn't just do one. Wasn't it didn't feel right to do one. It didn't feel right. I didn't get the right vibe. Christina, good night. How are you? How are you? Josh Nicholas, good night. Folks, let me know. Hit me some hearts if you're feeling the new background. Because I'm feeling it. I'm getting the hype. You're up, buddy. Hold on. Right. Hit your intro. Yes.
LinkedIn Live with Lyndon and Jared. We have a new yellow background today, so it's very different. That is waiting for free clients to pay. So that's the reason why he can move into the office. And then have trained whole time with Tuttle.
Oh God.
We had a few more tables so I could in the office.
Oh, good.
Exactly.
Right? We touch it, no save it.
Exactly.
All right. Goodbye. Thank you. Please sit in here. Bye.
I'm gonna just come with me.
Yeah, unlock the door. Oh my gosh. Hey Rachel, long time no see.
Oh, good.
And by the way, folks, that's the kind of conversations you need to have with your
With
children.
your
I talk
kids.
money
Yeah.
and stuff with them normal. It's not no joke thing. She understand. You see, she know my schedule. She knows who I'm doing
To
work
work
with and
for.
everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not no longer you sell a child in their business. Nah. So, my friend, my brother, how are you? What's going
I
on? I
am
know,
great.
and thank you for all
I
the
am
hearts,
great.
everybody.
Yeah. I
Yes.
am great. And, I look forward to this session today because we are speaking about sales processes.
Mm-hmm.
Celine Gosign, welcome on the on the LinkedIn side of things. Yeah, so as you know, guys, from week to week, Jared and I would always try to bring the things that we are seeing or experiencing to the table.
Correct.
And one of those things this week that we've kind of been observing and having conversations on is really sales processes or the lack thereof, a sales
Yes.
process. And what we want to do is that we want to just emphasize the importance of it. We may even go into like how do you get started putting a sales process together. And
Mm.
even though we're talking about things like a sales process, keep in mind marketing has an involvement in the sales process as well. And even if you are an entrepreneur, you need to have a sales process. And you might be doing it, you just haven't documented it to really
And I think so. I
understand
think
where your gaps are.
that is what we should stress on tonight, folks, is the documentation of the sales process. And here's the reason why. I think for a lot of us in sales, we wing it. I have been victim to that many times, even
Mhm.
as recent as this year, last year, everything. But when you realize you document what you're doing, you actually become more.
You can better
It's
what
like,
you're doing. Yeah,
put it this way: documenting your process is shooting with a sniper rifle versus just running in a room and shooting with a shotgun. You
that's
might hit
correct.
stuff, but you might not hit the target that you want to hit. So
Yeah.
that's why I think documenting the process is super, super important. And let me ask you this: does it take long to document your process, or is it how hard is it to really document?
It's really actually not hard. It just really takes it takes the time. It just takes some time for you to just write down, okay, so how do I find the customer? When I find the customer, what happens next? After step two, what happens in step three? After step three, what happens in step four? And the thing is this: everyone has different lengths in their sales process. Some people might have a sales process that is only 3 steps. Some people might have a sales process that's 10 steps. It really is dependent upon what you sell, the industry that you're in. Excuse me, because okay, like you and I know all too well, Jared, with um real estate coming
Right.
up to the end before you can actually get paid and closing the deal. You have a 3-month process to close off your paperwork, right?
Correct.
Or even in automotive sales, you have to go through the process of licensing and registration and getting the money from the bank and that. So all that makes up part of the process. But unless you have those things broken down, you wouldn't really know, as Jared just said, where you are winning. Like you may find some areas of your process you accelerate really well, and then some areas you stick
Yeah, but let's. So I like the fact that you said that. So I think that one of the best things you could do is document your process from the end and work your way backwards,
backwards.
reverse
Yeah,
engineer. I just want to
yeah,
highlight a question from Chris Stone here on LinkedIn. He says, "What are your favorite sales documentation tools?" And I'm assuming, Chris, if I'm not wrong, that is probably what your CRM you're referring to, or referring
yeah.
to what documents or creates that process.
I would like to think, and he could actually clarify
Yeah,
sales
let us know.
documentation tools could come along the lines of like what are the things that you're using to help you either build out your process or support you along the process. All right.
Correct.
So if it is that you're capturing, so apart from just the CRM, what are the things that you're using to capture data about your customers throughout your sales process? Chris, if you could just clarify when you say sales
Yeah.
documentation,
So it could
because
be
it could be a
multiple.
broad
That's
term.
a good point, yeah, because that could be a customer journey mapping, and then
Yes.
that could be your customer buying process, and that could be your selling process. So there are a
Your
couple of
selling
things
process.
involved
Yeah.
there, Chris. But
Yeah.
let us know.
And
Um,
it could also mean what are you using to build content in your sales process. You
Nice.
understand?
But then
So
that day is the layers though, yeah. Because for example,
mhm,
if you know your process or the buyer process, then you're supposed to match and pinpoint and say, right, at this stage, the person's supposed to the
do
person this
X.
type of content could work for them, and you could even subset that into so many different categories because of course it varies based on if it's an outreach, an inbound, a website lead, different things.
Yeah.
So that could definitely work.
Yeah.
Good
So
night, Doug Lemon.
first let's define it again, just to kind of quickly reset the rules. So Sean, good night, and everything else. So we're talking about the sales process, and the sales process really represents the different stages that you go through, moving a
Hmm.
customer from suspect lead all the way down to customer, right? Those different stages. Now we would not know what your stages are. Jared and I, for the work that we do, we understand a series of steps that we normally have to go through in our sales process. And if it is that you're in automotive, if it is that you're in real estate, if it is that you're in cake baking, you may actually have a process because, of course, if
Actually,
somebody asks you
you
for a
brought up a
cake,
good point there. Go ahead.
yeah, if you're baking a cake, you would have to have a discovery maybe to find out what type of cake you want, what's the occasion, etc., etc. There's a stage in your sales process that you need to really go about identifying the needs of the customer, and then you want to be able to deliver it to them because you want to find out things like allergies and yada yada yada.
No,
So
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, no, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, no, sorry, I was, me, because thoughts just jump in and out my head quick. What I was saying, remember we had an idea here to a tech trip and others. Good night. We had an idea here to bring a chef as on sales as a profession, just to
Right,
emphasize the importance of a
a
process because
process,
to deliver
yeah,
what you love at the end of the day follows a process, and that goes from fast food all the way up. Like if you look at KFC, the 11 herbs and spices, Royal Castle, Burger King, it is a process that they follow to maintain the consistency and to get the results which drive the
yes,
satisfaction. That
yeah,
is documented. And I think so. Let's highlight one important aspect. The reason why you want to sync your sales process is, and I think you mentioned it when we were talking on WhatsApp, London, is that it improves what everybody does and it creates that, as you said, synchronization. So you know what everybody's doing and there's no mix up um, in terms of where somebody has a customer in the pipeline. There's no,
hmm
I would say there's no differentiation, but there's no mix up for you to understand. Okay, well, why is he here versus here, or why
right,
are you calling this stage this stage? No,
right,
everybody's in sync and across the board.
right.
So that's the first thing you need to understand,
Yeah. So
right?
if it is that we have to start with that, right? So let's say we selling cars or we selling homes or whatever it is, so that the first step of our sales process, apart from us identifying what our product and services, will then
Right.
be okay, and then we also understand who are the customers that we need to reach out. What is our prospecting strategy like? So that's stage one, identifying your lead, right?
Hmm.
Or bringing your customers. Are you going to be using an inbound strategy, or are you going to be using an outbound strategy, or are you going to be using a blend of both? So that's step one. really identifying what is that prospecting or lead generation or demand gen strategy to start bringing the customers in. The second step will be when you do have that lead, whether it is that they came through from an inbound or outbound, the next step should really be, do you need to have a meeting with that person, or has that person filled out a form that gives you most of the information? So if your
That
next
allows you
step
to
is
qualify them.
allows you to qualify them. So if your next step has to be, well, again, and this is how simple you can take it. So the same way we're talking about it now is the same way that you can process this with your teams, you can process this with by yourself, and you can write it down, right? So the next thing I would want to do is have a conversation with X customer, right? And within that conversation, here's the important thing that you need to do in that within that conversation. What are the things I need to know? Because within that stage, within that step in your process, it would help you, as Jared said, better understand the customer needs and kind of qualify them. Do you need to qualify them out, or do you need to qualify them for a next step into your sales process?
Correct.
You know? Then from there, where does that go next? Does that then go into a, okay, let's say some customers you may have to do a demonstration, right? So do you then need to do a demonstration on your solution, or a demonstration on the car, or a demonstration on whatever it is? Or do you need to do, if you're in real estate, do you say, well, okay, I have a particular viewing for you that I can carry you to based upon your needs. So our next step will be a little bit of an open house, or do you just go to quoting the customer? Again, by mapping those things or by talking it through, right? Or walking yourself through the process, you will understand, okay, so from here, the next thing I need to do is this, right? Or you may actually find, like I've found some people who are in the space of real estate, they may say, or as a matter of fact, there's one person who sells cars and they're very successful. They say to me, I don't do demonstrations. You understand? So even though
Really?
that might be part, yeah, she says to me, listen, Lyndon, I can't tell you last time I did a demo. So a customer comes to me, I have the conversation with them. That step for them, even though it's in her sales process, that step is skipped. You understand?
Wow. Because we could
Because
just
of,
buy the car one
so
time.
remember I was talking about, if for some sales reps or for some companies, they might do such a good job in explaining the vehicle, the customer don't want to do a demo. So you find yourself accelerating those steps, that particular step in your process, right? And that is something that you might want to replicate. So look at it. If that one rep, and this is why it's so good to start documenting what your top performers are doing that Jared always speaks about. If
Yeah.
that one rep has found a way to skip doing a demo, and a
To
demo
get
might
to the
take a couple
sale
of days
faster.
to get to this, then that is something that you can now create in what you might call a playbook or whatever it is, and you now use that and you share that with the rest of the team. Like, how did she get to that point where she skips that whole step? And that step might take a couple of days in your sale. You
Yeah.
understand? Because you had to coordinate time and whoever else had to come with them. But if you could skip that and go straight to the back, you understand?
You
Then
could
what is that sales rep doing? And you could document that in your process. Now, that may not work for everybody and every customer, but documenting it is important. And before I continue, I see Sean putting up some stuff there. I'm not sure if you want
Yeah,
us
yeah. He was
to
saying
read through.
qualifying is the key. Understanding their current state and desired state will help navigate the road to the sale. So, and I think,
Okay, cool.
and then so let's talk about a couple of things. The reason why you want, and given the topic, the reason why you want to sync that sales process, folks, is that and when you look at it on a team level, this helps allow you to identify gaps and errors quickly
Hmm.
because everybody's following the same path, right?
Correct.
The other thing that I actually like about it, and Sean kind of alluded it here as well, um, you see, that's what says how to say things quick. You think jump out my head already, right? You see, that's how I am sometimes. No, and I think you also mentioned it as well. It allows you, as I say, to identify those gaps, fix the issues, and allows the team to move stronger. But as you said it, and the thing, right, the thing I stress on, it allows you to onboard people a lot quicker because it's a system that's already in
That's a
place to
system.
explain to
That's
somebody
correct.
when a
Yeah.
customer comes to you. And let's put it this way. When we just spoke about the layers, Linda, can you imagine for companies, and I don't think anybody in Trinidad has it, and it's not to punk them, I just think, and I think companies in the States don't have it either. Internationally, I don't think companies have it based on conversations. Hi, Shanice, hi, Ishmael. But can you imagine if you have a sales process, which then you can see the buyer process in terms of the buyer cycle
Right.
that they go through, then you get to see all the people that interact with that. So in other words, you see what's marketing role in each of those stages to bring stuff
Right.
along. And then all the different things that you need to do. can you imagine if you're a new employee joining an organization, how helpful that is to you to make sure that you can be successful?
Correct.
Because we know lots of people join companies and it's literally the
Onboarding is
horrible saying
trash.
now, straight into the fire, which is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, onboarding is
Worst.
trash. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
You know,
So I
so
think that brings a really good aspect to it.
yeah. So what we spoke about there, folks, as I say, if you are a solopreneur, if you're an entrepreneur doing this thing, you can map out your sales process for yourself. And even within that, also, if it is that you're moving into the space of, let's say you're a B2B, even if you're in some sort of retail, whatever it is, there is a process. You would want to develop a particular cadence or outreach, right? As a matter of fact, I was talking to a team recently, and in their process, they have a 14-day trial, right? So
Right.
that's part of their process with the customer. So my question to them is, well, what happens between the 14-day trial? What happens between 1 and day 14, right? How are you nurturing and encouraging the customer to maximize what's happening in that 14-day trial period? How are you
Yep.
encouraging the customer to go back into your portal to pay attention to what might be happening? So that by the time they come out of the 14-day trial, it's not just a matter of, well, we switch this button on and this thing was running for 14 days, but we were nurtured. We were given tidbits and information. We were told, okay, after your first 3 days, you should see this type of data, and you send them something for them to read.
Yep.
Because remember that you are using that 14-day trial to do something that most people may not get to do: edify, educate that customer about what to
But
look for.
not only that too, and as we keep speaking on this whole topic of why I need to sync the sales process, by you documenting this and having this information, you get to test and see what's working and what's not. So
What's not?
therefore, this
Yeah,
allows you to scale. When things aren't in sync with the sales process, and this is why we bringing it up, is the fact that everybody in a team does their own little thing. Nothing is wrong with that, because remember, sales is a science and an art. But if you're not following the basic science of what you do, then there's no way for you to achieve consistent results. And then if somebody's achieving significant results compared to everybody else, there's no documentation for you to replicate it for other persons on the team,
right.
whether they be existing or new. And that's why I want the sync, because the sync, first of all, is going to help you identify who actually has something that's working. So you can start adopting, documenting it, looking to see if it's something that could work across the board, and then making sure that that can be replicated, because you want to make sure that as many persons as possible could adopt it, and then that will allow you to scale and increase your sales.
Yeah.
So,
Here's something that you get the ability to do by having your sales process well documented as well, and also
mhm,
built into a system, because she's Sean alluding to having a system to help you manage those things,
yep,
right? You get to also understand the areas that move the quickest, right? And where exactly are your bottlenecks. And if you can find a way to speed through. So if you realize customers drop off after you submit a quotation, why? So you know that whole ghosting thing, you submit the quote, why? Or you do a 14-day trial, or you do a demonstration. What happens after you do the demo? Do you still get to submit the quote to the customer? Right?
yep.
So if you realize that customers or things that your sale is slowing down, here's another thing that you could actually do. You can actually now put these stamps, like how much time does it take normally between this step and this step. So then, really and truly, if you realize that your sale, some people are executing on a sale in 7 days while others are doing it in 14 days, then you understand why as well. Like how long is it one a particular deal taken to close, and what
Which
are the
is why I wanted
circumstances,
sync.
and that
Like
is why you
it's
want
just
it
a
synced.
benefit.
Yeah,
It is literally
because
just a benefit for the organization and for
yeah,
yourself.
in some CRMs, and I'll mention HubSpot here. In some CRMs, it will tell you how long, and once you have your sales process documented, listed out in it, it will tell you how long some of your opportunities are staying in a particular stage, and that's important. Like how this is here for 28 days so far. You
Hmm.
understand? So you can now again use that bit of information to now help you better understand, wait a minute, why is this here for so long? What's going on with this particular rep, or what is he or she doing or not doing, or what challenges he may have with the customer, etc., etc. Excuse me. But just to kind
Sad
of
is
work
saying
through,
sad is saying go spot check.
unless that is a software, I am not familiar with it. So, Syed,
No,
if you
no,
could just
sorry.
let us know if that is a software
Type
I'm
it
not
into
familiar with it. You can Google it and check and let us know. Yeah.
um, it's an app.
Um,
Hold on. Fulfills customers request. Postspot check fulfills customers request faster with Asana. It's a mobile task management for teams.
okay.
Interesting.
Cool. Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's your CRM for. Okay.
It
Cool.
sounds like a CRM. Yeah, mobile
Yeah.
app for frontline teams, etc. Alerts. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, so when you reach different stages, let's say, for instance, you do get to the stage of, let's say, quotation and negotiation and then closing. Again, you want to map it all the way down, and do not be afraid to also map your after sales process as well, because
Recurring revenue.
because of the fact of the recurring revenue. Because if you recognize that you're not getting returning customers because of your end process, you understand? Because remember, you have three stages of revenue, right? Marketing is responsible for revenue, sales is responsible for revenue, and service is responsible for revenue. All right.
Hmm.
So if you realize that you're losing revenue from your sales, from your service side of things, you understand? So, and then where exactly are you losing that revenue from? So, and that's again, I like how you said it in the beginning, Jared, because what Jared indicated, he spoke about people winging it,
Yeah.
and not just people wing it, companies wing it as well. I know
Yeah.
organizations that do not have that process mapped out. What one sales rep is doing is different from another sales rep is doing. They know how to submit the paperwork and that kind of thing, but it's very, very ad hoc.
No,
And
but it's
if we do
worse.
put the structure in,
Yeah, no, but
go ahead.
London is worse. We know they're legit some companies. Like you and I have gone into companies, done discovery, and we legit ask ourselves, how are you staying in business? I mean, we realize it's a legacy product or
Hmm.
service. People just come to you. So there's no documentation. You just flow. But the issue with it now is that if anything falls apart or stutters, you can't figure out how to get it back in the rhythm quickly enough. And
That's
that's
correct.
why
Yeah.
it's important to sync everything in your sales process.
Yeah.
And let's go into upper level aspects of the sales because I know Sean, you'd appreciate these kind of things. When your sales process is in sync, it minimizes the amount of time you have to spend micromanaging your team, and you can spend more time coaching your team,
And
which is
coordinating
important.
strategic sales activities.
Strategic activities and not checking to see what you do or why it's falling apart. You already
Hmm.
know how to take care of things that have fallen short or how to make sure and back up somebody before they drop too low in their performance. Or you can identify people who just not suited for the organization. But if you
Yep.
keep winging it, it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while. So that's just my advice. You need
No,
to
and
sync it
and
first.
I love the fact that you brought that up, Jared, because that is a big part of sales,
Yep.
pipeline management as an entrepreneur, and also for organizations. Yeah. So, um, yeah. So it's an integral part of your business, and I think what Jared and I would have done is really sort of highlight the many different areas or aspects of you just writing that out, and as to why that is so important to you. So again, even if you are in an organization and that organization does not have a process, you take the responsibility for yourself as a sales rep and write out
Yep.
your own process. You know what you need to do, and you would know where your process, your points are. So you would know, okay, well, I do really well here, but then I fall short here. Because here's what that also tells people like you and myself, Jared. It helps us understand which areas of the sales process people really need to get trained on. Because sometimes, guys, customers ask us for training and they're looking at the whole process or a different area of the process. But it's not until we pay attention to what's in your pipeline or we do an assessment, we realize that, you know what, your team really needs to just focus on these 2 or 3 areas in the training and not the whole sales process.
Yep.
So again, having that mapped out, you get to identify the gaps, the pros and cons about what your team is doing, and also gives you the ability to be very, very specific as to where are your areas of improvement, either as a team or through your individuals. Then from there you can get HR involved. Again, I mean, the benefits of having these things mapped out are tremendous. because again, when it comes to personal development and using it to get your team better, I mean, you can't go wrong there at all, at all, at all. You know?
100% agree, brother. There's no way it could go wrong, and it actually makes things better. Sad is saying he checked out HubSpot, but needs to actually use the software to see how powerful the CRM, how powerful it is. No, but it's very powerful. I know you have yours
Yeah,
and it's excellent, but yeah, it is very powerful. But folks,
yeah,
I know we kind of spread it across a couple in terms of the topic, but in essence, if you're a rep and you do have your process mapped out, especially for what you do, you're going to run into problems in terms of if you're trying to sell or scale or increase your efforts and increase your revenues. If
yeah.
you and by the way, write it out first before you want to rely on the CRM or anything like
CRM,
that.
yeah,
Write it out first before you rely on your company CRM.
yeah,
Then, if you're a manager, you want to make sure these things are in sync for your team because you want to be able to scale as well from an organizational perspective and from a leadership perspective. You also want to be able to identify things that are wrong in the organization or things that need to be improved. But because you have a system in place, as Linda said it earlier, onboarding becomes a lot easier, coaching becomes a lot easier. And by the way, coaching up and coaching out becomes a
out,
lot easier because you could
yeah,
quickly identify and you no longer have to use gut instinct because the gut instinct is complemented by the facts that are actually there when the person doesn't follow everything. So stop winging it, sync this process because right now a lot of persons sometimes uh missing out on opportunities to grow, and that's literally because they don't know what they're doing and they're winging a couple of things. I'm seeing Sada saying
span cup.
um,
I'm not sure what span cup
Span
is.
Cup, a custom and sales. I don't know what Span Cup is yet. Haven't.
Unless a span cup might be I think they're just
Is
doing a
Span
quick
Cup a
Google check
sales
here.
terminology?
It
Like medic
it
and
might actually no. It's
medicine?
it's a funnel that's just sort of broken down a particular way. So it's a
Oh
sales funnel that. So
man.
yeah. So
And
it's
for those
really
people who
suspect prospect approach negotiate. That's what span cup is. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And for those who now join, because we're wrapping it up in a couple of minutes, let us know if you have any questions. Actually, for those of you who here, hey, there's a couple hearts. Number one, if you like my background, there's my new yellow background. So I'm in my office. I'm excited about the color. It's amazing. Two, let us know. Just give us a why or no in each or and in the chat. Do you have your sales process documented? Is that something that you have written down somewhere? Yes or no? And hopefully our conversation tonight might let you see. Let me take a half hour and write out what I do.
Yeah, yeah. Again, if Jared and I we have our process mapped out, I want to recommend that you should have your process mapped out as well. Take example from us because
Oh, but Candace, we know. Candace, we know. If you had say no,
what
Candace
Candace
more
say?
than yes. We know Candace saying yes. Candace, we know you say yes.
Where's Candace? Instagram
In
or
Instagram.
oh,
Instagram.
okay. Yeah,
You
yeah,
must say
Candace have a
yes.
process.
Part of what we talk about is what
That's why
Candace
she's a top
does.
performer. Yeah, that's why she's a top performer.
Top, 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 top.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So folks,
Nigel kind of
um,
saying no, but he's not is not in sales.
mhm.
Cool. I mean,
What field are you in, Nigel? Just remind
yeah,
us. Because that'll be important to know as well.
yeah.
Right? Because I think because actually no, even if you want to get better, you should have a process. Actually, no, other department sale is one department that
All
does
departments have a
sales is
process.
one department that is wing what they do. All other departments have a process.
Yeah,
Accounting,
yeah, yeah.
maintenance, everybody else products have a process.
Yeah. So it may not be a
So
sales process, but I'm sure it is a process somewhere. You're doing it, but it may not be documented like how
he's
we
a
spoke
graphic
about it.
designer. I am sure you have a process, Nigel.
Yeah, but if you yeah, but if so, but then how you go about getting your customers for graphic design? Even if it's a referral, you have a
Yeah,
process. So
there's a process.
if someone refers, okay, so if someone is referred to me to do graphic design, then I still have to meet that customer. I have to understand exactly as to what their needs are. Let me make sure I plug this thing so my battery doesn't die. Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
identify what their needs are, and then come up with maybe a scope of work, how long the job is going to take. That's a process. You understand?
Yeah, there's a
You
process for
may
design, but you have a process.
you
You need to also create a process to carry that customer
yeah.
throughout their journey to getting requesting the services to getting their final design.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should
yeah,
have
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And by
Even
the way,
graphic designers, yeah.
that includes because and oh, by the way, I only know this to an extent because I saw a couple of clips on YouTube. where these people were designing a logo for a beer company, and like there was so much back and forth. Like you need to actually
Mm-hmm.
understand that what's the
Yeah,
average
yeah.
number of like back and forth we do with a client
Right.
before we come up with the final design. Like all those things are part of your sales process.
Yeah.
Like you
So
have to have
then,
those things documented.
yeah. So Nigel saying is that he does do the discovery call. So Nigel, I'm pretty sure you actually have a sales process. You just have it documented, like how Jared and I spoke about it.
You should have
I
a
also have a
design,
friend.
Nigel. You should have a
Yeah,
design.
I also have a friend of mine who is in graphic design, and he actually goes through a series of um a series of steps with his customers, right? That is all part of the sales process. Um, so yeah, I mean, once you're doing a transaction with any customer, and there's going to be a back and forth, that's part of your process.
Actually,
You know.
Nigel brought up something important. I think we need to do a session on discovery calls, especially for service providers,
Mm-hmm.
just to explain because a couple of things that I keep seeing in discovery calls, especially with service providers. A lot of people do a discovery call just to sound desperate and grab somebody onto the business versus actually, and I would say this because there's a guy, I think Mark Reese was his name. You should be focusing on disqualifying the person. Like honestly, trying to find what about them doesn't match what they need, so you can get better quality customers in your pipeline. Like that's what they honestly should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
sounds scary to do because especially if you're new in business, you're thinking you don't want to turn away business. But we have all
Yeah.
fallen the trap where we took on a customer and we would literally cut off our right hand versus dealing with them because it's that bad of an experience. But if we
Yeah. Yeah.
did the discovery well, and that includes finding out needs, issues, outcomes, because that helps you price and do everything properly. We will
Correct. Yeah.
actually talk about
Scope.
some of those categories in our discovery process. Because I
So
think I mentioned to you one of the clients I was prospecting, I submitted a proposal on some of the initial onset when I did the discovery call them. There were a couple of red flags. The first one was they didn't want me to talk to anybody in the company. Like,
mm,
and you could set those things. Like you could pay attention to the red flags.
right.
Like, so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
nice.
So yeah, you know. Yeah, so I think that's everything there. I
That
think
is it for
Saya is
us.
saying the span cup. You say, well, sure, Saya, just give us a call as soon as you are ready to have the conversation. But yeah, guys, as I say, just mapping out your process. Even if your organization doesn't have one, you go ahead and create one for yourself. You write out all the steps that you normally do with your customers, and again try to document the time that it normally takes sometimes to do something, the back and forth between you and your client on average. Because when you see certain things, sometimes it's not until you write it out you realize, well, wait, now I could cut out this because, you understand. And so again, and you could maybe even take that to your manager, and that now becomes a staple thing within the organization because somebody took the time to write it out, you know, and
Yeah,
do it,
they will actually
so
position itself as value.
yeah.
So my daughter's
Cool.
feeling sleepy. She's sitting down here trying to prop up herself in her
Trying
arm
to
to
pop
fall
up
asleep. So
herself.
folks,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll say good night. Thanks for joining us, especially on my brand new yellow wall. Um, and we'll join you all next week. I think next week, as I was telling Nigel here, I think we really need to hit on that topic
Yeah, I have it
of
noted. So
discovery.
we'll definitely do discovery calls next week.
Yeah, I love it. A creative brief. Nigel,
Yeah.
by the way, what do you call people I know I design banners for clients, but I use Canva. I don't want to call myself a graphic designer because that's a whole different scope. So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
do
yeah.
I know you look down on Canva users as graphic designers, but what do you call
Canva
people who design
users.
on Canva? What do you call us? I don't find I don't it can't just be the term graphic designers. I'm looking for some fancy. I'm looking for some fancy. There must be something fancy, Linda.
They might call us trash. Oh
Hot mess.
gosh. Hot
Hot mess.
mess.
That's what they will
Yeah,
call
yeah,
us.
yeah.
Hot mess. And
Yeah.
Sean says he loves the show. Yeah, so don't worry. So we're gonna have a lot of
Thanks a
fun. But
lot,
Nigel,
Sean.
you can always DM me and let me know. But thanks everybody for joining. Thanks everybody for chiming in. Stay tuned next week. And of course, as we always encourage person, what he says, amateur.
Amateur.
Nigel, here's what to do. Here's what to do. Look for a profile called Josanne Hackshaw. Look for Josanne Hackshaw's profile on LinkedIn. Look at her banner and just let me know if that's amateur. Okay? Okay? Just letting you know. Thanks so much,
Oh,
folks. Have a
good.
good one.
All right, guys.
Yes.
Take
Bye
care. Bye
bye.
bye.
Hold on, let me end this live here.